If you ever feel like you're living the same emotional day on repeat, same reactions, same relationship patterns, same frustrations, simply that everything feels the same, then there is a reason. And it has nothing to do with willpower, discipline, or being broken. Sometimes even putting in the effort is not always the right thing. Here is the truth. Your mind and your deeper psychology is running the show. And until you learn how to work with it, it's not going to really change. But once you do, things can actually change pretty fast. I'm not selling miracles here. Of course, it does require inner work and being sincerely open to change. But I will tell you a key ingredient to take that step that sometimes seems so close and so far away at the same time. Hi, I am Olof Nilsson, a licensed psychologist, and this is where I bring together psychotherapy with personal development. A really interesting mix because we get the best of both worlds. Sound psychological principle and not just wishful thinking, but we also have the ambition and the vision that we want to make something good of our life and that we can use inner work as a tool for that, even if we don't necessarily have a clinical condition. And today we're talking about something important that everyone should hear if they want to grow. Why understanding your own inner psychology is a key to changing patterns in your life, your relationship, and ultimately the trajectory of your life. I want you to stay with me because once you hear this framework, you won't be able to unsee it. It's kind of a fundamental perspective to view inner work and how it kind of trickles out into every part of your life. You will start to recognize it everywhere in your own behavior, in your own life, in other people, and in every big decision that you make. You can always apply this lens. Most people think psychology is about fixing problems, that it's something coming at you, and once you experience it, it's kind of over and something will have changed in you in some way. It's really not. It's about gaining choice. When you understand why you feel what you feel and why you react the way you do, you have the choice to stop living on autopilot, and you can stop repeating patterns you don't even want. Of course, choice is the operating word. You can also choose to live in whatever way you wish, and not changing is also always an option. But you can actually begin to living from intention instead of habit, and that is where real power starts. Becoming more autonomous from the inside out is a game changer. Every single one of us developed emotional patterns in our early life. Even people with healthy patterns are still subject to their patterns. This is also why some people who have not really experienced hardship and not really been tested, they don't really always develop autonomous self-awareness, but are rather just kind of floating around in patterns which seem to work. But if we need to work on our patterns and we kind of want that, we need to look at their core functions. For example, you might have become hyper-independent because you felt that depending on others didn't feel safe or reliable, or it was never an option. You might always keep the peace in every situation because conflict has kind of felt dangerous in one way or another, or that your side never really was heard. You might automatically put others first because love felt conditional, and if you didn't do that, you didn't receive anything back. These patterns are intelligent. Nature always kind of finds a way to work around obstacles. But here is the part we don't really think about. Our success, our growth, and our fulfillment, they are not obstacles in that sense. So you won't find yourself kind of reorganizing automatically for your highest good the same way you would do for survival. That would have been neat, I'm not going to lie, but maybe that would have been too simple. So the patterns we learn for safety and comfort becomes the patterns that later limit us in adult life. If you feel that it limits you or not depends on what you want with your life and if you find it a problem or not. Not everyone does. I'm not saying it necessarily does. So we must understand these patterns, their logic, their consequences, and the way that they make you feel, for good and for bad. And that is important. for good and for bad. Because, of course, there is some element of good in it and the way it makes you feel. Otherwise, you would have kind of shedded them a long time ago. A sense of safety, comfort, certainty usually are things that limiting patterns can feel like, but still it also can keep us kind of trapped. That is something we need to kind of understand if we want to outgrow them. And there are many patterns because we are all unique and we all have different experiences and paths, but there are also a lot of similarities. There are clusters, themes, and so on of patterns. And I will not go into specific patterns here. Maybe I will do separate videos on that. Comment if there's anything special you want me to dive deeper on. But yeah, the idea is that even though they are very unique and very different for every person, and kind of the foundational personality that you have, they still kind of operate in clusters and on certain themes: safety, love, belonging, and so on. To a surprising degree, your past doesn't stay in the past, it lives in your expectations. It shapes what you think a normal relationship is, it shapes what you fear, it shapes what you believe is possible for you, and it shapes what you silently tell yourself that you deserve. So this lays the foundation for how you subconsciously act. Most of your behavior is driven by unconscious motives like staying safe, avoiding rejection, avoiding embarrassment, wanting to be seen, maintaining control, and so on. And to protect you, your mind uses certain defenses like avoidance, denial, minimizing things, overthinking, people-pleasing, emotionally shutting down, and so on. It can also make us completely blank and freeze and not able to really function if it goes too bad. These defenses aren't necessarily flaws in that sense. They are psychological armor, but a lot of it you can probably find today a more adequate and healthy way to deal with whatever is going on in your life or whatever you want to kind of achieve. Armor kind of becomes a problem when you never take it off, especially if the suit is way too small. So once you can kind of grasp this concept and learn to understand that you have unconscious patterns and you can learn to kind of see them a little bit more, you can also learn to see the ways in which you can bring in a little bit of autonomy so that they can stop controlling you. With this, you regain more autonomy, you get your power back, and your life becomes more yours again. You are less ruled by things that are just happening to you, but rather things are happening and you can choose kind of whatever course you like. With some degree of moderation, of course, but that's the principle. So yes, understanding your deeper psychology is one of the greatest tools you can have for your personal growth. Because clarity is freedom. When you understand yourself, you make better decisions, you're there to go for risks and projects, you're there to stay in what is a little bit uncomfortable or new without withdrawing. Even when your inner voice says it's too dangerous, you learn to communicate better with others, you choose healthier relationships, and you can break repeating old cycles, which has been a generational thing throughout your family history. And you can show up in the world as the person you're actually trying to become. And understanding your deeper psychology doesn't mean to necessarily dwell on your past, but rather recognize that it has its influence, and it means recognizing the blueprint which you have inherited. It means being aware and truthful with who you actually are, so you can redesign it with the resources you have. We are still the same person and we have to work with what we have, but this is the key. We must remember that working with what we have and who we actually are is a million times more powerful than trying to hide and shame the parts of us we don't like and instead try to operate from a less authentic layer. I love talking about success and I love to talk about progress, but I'm never talking about gaining success at the cost of authenticity. Rather, I'm always talking about gaining success through authenticity. That is the key. So if you're someone that wants to grow and you want to live with more clarity, get curious about your inner world. That is really at the heart of what this channel is about, and kind of everything that I'm discussing here. That curiosity about yourself, understanding yourself on a deeper level. It does not usually come overnight. For most, it's a bit of a journey, but from the moment we are born till the moment we go, we are our only constant, so might as well get interested. But also, every micro moment is an opportunity for awareness to shine through and choose a different path. My name is Olof Nilsson. I'm a clinical psychologist. If you like this video, subscribe for more. All of my videos are related to this, different ways of getting to know ourselves better, and then linking that with the idea that we want to apply it in our life to get real success, real traction, and progress. See you in the next video.